Hi there, rattrap25 again, and I'm back with my computer fixed. So, yeah, just in time as well. I promised you, last time with my Transformer reviews that I will be doing Transformer Prime still, and I will be. This time I'm going to do not one, not two, not three, but four episodes in one. But let me just start on one thing. Excuse me. The first episode is 23. It's called One Shall Rise. No, One Shall Fall, actually. In this episode, it's about an ancient prophecy set by Cybertron in the Book of Primus. I think it is the Book of Primus, I'm not too sure. But I don't care, I really don't care if you like it or not. I just like doing this video, I've done a project, I've completed it, and I'm happy with it. Like I was saying, a prophecy about the 26 or 28 planets in the solar system. And it turns out Cybertron is one of the 28 planets. And yeah, Prime talking about it, that there will be a dark horizon. Now we can come a bit more full circle with the first episode, which was Dark Horizon. It turns out that the Dark Horizon weren't Megatron, it was Unicron. So thinking at the end of the day, now we know what was the Dark Horizon. They end up having a lot to go about, and they had to find Prime, and Megatron gets the wrong end of the gist that each one was the main prophecies, saying Megatron made out that he was the Dark Horizon and Prime was the weak one, and the weak will fall. And in this, it turns past that the weak wasn't Prime, it was Wrath. Megatron goes over flying, zaps Dunes, which is Jack's mother's car, by Dark Energon. But everyone thinks that it's Energon, normal Energon. Wrath ends up being sick. His body ends up being poisoned by Megatron's energy and Energon blast, burst, whatever. And so they try and find out that what's trying to make Wrath ill, and ends up it's Dark Energon. And Ratchet ends up blaming himself, and you actually see a lot more humanization from Ratchet. And this time I've seen Ratchet in a whole different light. Like a couple of weeks ago, he made a synthetic Energon formula. He basically drugged himself up, and he turned into like a steroid freak. So at the end of the day, this is so he ends up admits that he's wrong. He's one of the best thinkers and calculated minds on planet Earth, but he admits that even he's wrong. He ends up falling in love, well, not love, gay love, like love with the 3 to 4 humans, and saying that he needs to learn more of the human culture. So that's end of one story. The other story is the planet starts to have lots of earthquakes, tidal waves, basically global disasters all over the planet, and Prime and Megatron find it's at a certain point in the Earth where Megatron actually starts seeing visions of a firing volcano splurting out dark energy, and he ends up going down, finding this big massive volcano in America. I don't know, it does have a lot of resemblance of some volcano. I can't really put my finger onto it. I'll probably find out another time. Yeah. So Prime ends up ordering Ratchet to space bridge, well, ground bridge him into the Nemesis. Then he ends up taking on a lot of Decepticon drones, and ends up I think it's Knockout reports that Prime's on the Nemesis and attacking, and Megatron says, "Leave him to me. If anyone touches Prime, they will answer to me." So and he orders that the Decepticon main generals, as I'm going to call them from now on, to bridge him to his exact coordinates in front of the firing volcano. So they end up having this magnificent battle. I do actually have to say it is a really good battle. It's not as good as the it ends up saying, and it ends up like Prime's going to win this fight until the very end, when the volcano explodes and Megatron starts glowing. Basically, he is glowing with power. Like the dark energy is going from him. And that's the end of the episode 23. And that was called One Shall Rise. No, One Shall Fall. That one. Now the next 3 is called One Shall Rise. And this is the reason why I'm doing these together. Sorry about this. I'm doing these 4 episodes together because it all ties in. It all be continued. And I was just sorting out this camera. So episode 20 odd, let's just say 24, that's it. Yeah, 24. No, 23 actually, it's 23. As the start of the end of the penultimate series, as it was 3-part finale of season 1 of Transformers Prime. And in this, there's not a lot of stuff going on. Well, there's a lot, but there's not so much. Okay, first thing says, you end up being left off from episode 22 of, and thingy, Ratchet bridges the three young Autobots, RC, Bulkhead and Bumblebee, to Prime's quadrant, starts attacking Megatron. Drags him out of there just in time before he ends up nearly being killed. And at the end of it, and in this, he ends up being back in the base, saved, and really ill. June's really pissed off. I can actually say she is actually pissed at Optimus and all the other Autobots. So Raph is getting better from his illness, but she wants to leave the base and take him to the hospital when the global events were getting worse and worse and worse. Megatron was left on the battlefield in front of the volcano, laughing his head off with power, saying that I have enough dark energy on to resurrect Unicron himself. And he ends up saying, instead of looking into the stars, I should have been looking here. This is where dark energy is. So he ends up going back to his own ship. I'm on shipbook, or Facebook, or bookface, or whatever you want to call it. I do have a lot of people talking to me on Facebook now, and I am actually liking the people that I'm talking to. Miss Helen the Melon and Dave Mensa. Sorry, Dave, I can't pronounce your last name, but you would know him as SMS number 1 or Snuzno. I got a message from someone, I don't know him. Yeah, so then Megatron's visions are getting stronger when he's back on the Nemesis. And everyone, he says, I have to leave. Well, it doesn't say, he just says, I'm going for an appointment, basically. And he leaves Arachnid in charge. And he says to her, I cannot be late for my meeting. And she says, meeting with who? He ends up saying Unicron, the Destroyer. So he actually offers himself up as the main herald of Unicron. And I got kind of confused. This isn't the Megatron that we grew up with, but I am actually liking it. It's not G1 Megatron, and it's not Movieverse Megatron, and it's like a new kind of fresh intake of Megatron. Like when people first saw Beast Wars, some Transformers were outraged. I weren't. I was only a kid. I was only 11 when it came out. Beast Wars. 10, 11, and I was loving it. The idea of Megatron being like a descendant from Megatron, and everyone's a descendant from everyone else in Beast Wars, was a new take, and this is what they're doing with Prime. They're using bits from what made each series a success, and I have to say, it is a very, very good series. It's not G1, it's not Beast Wars, and it's not animated, but I have to say, it has reached my top 5 Primes. Not Primes, Transformers series. I have to say, it is my top 5 Transformers series. I will tell you all that another time. And so they actually realise that Unicron arises, well, in like a big cloud of ash, showing his face covered in cloud. Oh, you won't. It's like a projection of his face through this cloud, and Megatron offers it himself, and Unicron dismisses him like, "You're just German, you filth, I do not need you, go away." And Prime, and everyone figures out that the Earth isn't made up of molten lava, the Earth's core, but the Earth's core is actually Unicron himself. So he's like a small planet, very small planet. It's like probably the size of Mercury size, and everything, and space dust and debris has collected over him and made the planet Earth. And basically humanity and everything that was from Earth's history, past and present, was actually seeds of Unicron. So they end up asking, and it actually shows how much Prime is a leader in himself. Not at this moment, but you can see how much of a diplomat he is to work for humanity and a leader for the planet Earth. So he tries to go and see Unicron. So what he does, he finds the most the center of all the earthquakes, where it's more strongest, and Unicron senses Prime, or as he will say, Primus, a descendant of Primus, on his planet. So he begs him to talk. Prime actually begs Unicron just to hear him out. He makes his point over that we're young species. If you awaken and allow yourself to be fully awake, you will kill your own creatures and your own designs. And he ends up dismissing us, saying that we're all parasites and germs and filth and basically all that. So you end up getting to a big fight against, I say, like drones, but actually in the shape of Unicron. what is perceived to what Unicron would look like, but in like a drone form, but all made out of rock. He ends up wiping the floor with a lot of them. The first one, then he extends himself to multiply himself into like 30, 40, and he was basically getting his ass beat at this because he is fighting basically one of the gods of Transformers, and he's actually doing a pretty good job, and it shows. If you check, I think it was the 5 Awesome Transformers, there was one week just before assembly what a subject was called Murder Prime. So just hold on with me. And Sundays is SMS number 1's Dave's, and he says that Prime is a killer, he's a soldier, not a leader, he is a soldier, 100% soldier. And in this you actually see the soldier in this series. So that's basically the end of episode 23. Now to episode 24. You carry on with the big battle scenes, and he ends up saying that, dismissing all his soldiers and saying, because they actually want to come and help him through the ground bridge, and he says, no, this fight's got to be mine. It's me who he wants. I will not let anyone down fall for my sake. And he's a true soldier. If he was any like comic book character in Marvel or DC, in Marvel he'd be Captain America. In the Marvel, like Stan Lee's declarations, in DC he will be Superman. Disagree with me, agree with me, he's like a pure soldier for good. So Unicron's drones are being destroyed by the Autobots. Were just sent in by anyway because they forced Ratchet to do it anyway, to send them into the battlefield where Prime's fighting these Unicron drones. And he ends up saying why you here when this is going against my direct orders, and saying, well, let us just take the front or take you back. So he ends up agreeing. They end up wiping the floor with all these foot soldiers. So Unicron develops bigger and badder foot soldiers until he creates one massive, like a mountain, mountain size Unicron drone. And they're saying, I think it was B who says, is this Unicron? And Prime says, no, but just another drone. So at the end of the day, they end up trying to destroy him. Unicron goes, I am this past, present, future, and it's, you know, you get the basic drift. And he nearly kills Prime, but thing it just in time. Guess who comes to save the day? Megatron. So all Decepticon fans will be happy that, oh, think Megatron saved Prime, so think Megatron must be better. So my hair's just a mess. I've been at work all day. Going to do something with that. Yeah. better stop messing with it. Carry on with the view. At the end of the day, yeah. So he destroys this big drone by his fusion cannon. So he comes down and makes a proposal. Say, let's have a truce, temporary truce, basically, to destroy this common foe. And they're saying, Megatron, why should we trust you anyway? You're nothing but a liar, cheater, Decepticon, you know. He says, he makes his point clear, basically, and he says it in the honest way he can say. Basically, he will make the planet his way. He wants to enslave the planet the way he wants it to be done, and it will make sure there will be a planet for him to rule. And the Autobots and Prime agrees with him. So he says, I will hold them off while you figure this out. So they go back into the bridge, to the Autobots bridge, to talk it over, and they're saying the only way it can be done is this way. And everyone's saying, how can Prime and Megatron destroy Unicron? And they end up saying the matrix of leadership. And now we can see the matrix of leadership comes into play. That's better. So it looks, the design of the matrix looks actually very good, and it's different actually. I like the different design of the cage bit. The casing of it, and everyone's saying, so they end up agreeing. Okay, so Prime radios Megatron, said we're opening a bridge for you to come into the base. So they basically let Megatron into their base, and they say, okay, here you go. And say, here we go. Give Ratchet the coordinates to beam them into the center of the Earth to destroy Unicron. Because Megatron's thinking and feeling what Unicron is doing, when Unicron is also trying to possess Megatron to destroy Prime. Everyone's saying, what's making Megatron trick Prime to kill him for Unicron, and taking the Matrix for himself and giving it to Unicron to destroy the planet Earth? He just says, basically, I will not allow Prime to die by anyone's hand other than mine. So Ratchet, they beam all the Autobots and Megatron into the center of the Earth, which you find out to be Megatron's body. So just before the end of this episode of Prime, they end up saying, okay, Ratchet tells the story of Unicron, and as far as I remember, there was 2 different versions. What I've been watching, what I've only just learned this year, thanks to people like Time Lord and Carlisle Prime and Silverbolt, through their reviews on Transformers and their vast knowledge of Transformers. So basically, there was Primus and Unicron story, then now there's the 13 Primes kind of story. I don't know, I really don't know, but I'm interested to learn. So if anyone wants to text me or talk to me over YouTube, please correct me if I'm wrong or not, and share me a bit more of Transformers knowledge than what I know, because I really do like Transformers. And I have to say, I am 26 and I do not know diddly squat. I'm only starting to scratch the surface. I was always into the plastic. I always will be. So it ends up saying that Primus created the 13 Primes to destroy Unicron, but Unicron weren't destroyed. He got flung into space and went into stasis lock, and you figured out basically what 1 + 1 = 2. The answer is. So that's the end of the episode of 25. Now 26. I might have been getting the numbers wrong on this, I don't know. Um, 26, episode 26 is a different story. It's a lot of backstory to this, and I loved this episode. I really did. There's lots of action, there's a story and everything to it. And in this, you find the history between Megatron and Prime. Ratchet ends up finding that Optimus give Jack this special key. Optimus made out that it was the key to the space bridge, but Ratchet finds it. He says, "What? How did you get that?" And Jack says, "Optimus gave me. It's the key to the space bridge." Ratchet says there is no key to the space bridge. That's the key to basically Cybertron. And so Ratchet ends up telling the backstory of Finger, and he says Megatron's name comes from one of the original 13 Primes, called Megatronius. And he was a gladiator, which I think is from Simon Ski's, basically Silverbolt's. I only found out that in the I think it's the IDW's continuations that Megatron was a gladiator who was a top gladiator and warrior who wanted to go into politics, but Prime wasn't called Prime. It was called Orion Pax. He was a clerk in Icon, and he was data storage young one. He was very interested in learning, and he ended up finding there was a lot of corruption in the planet Cybertron, and he was basically moved by Megatron's words of wisdom, and they end up being best friends. And Megatron ends up taking him on this young robot called Orion under his wings, and end up coming to making a decision. Let's go to the courts and saying such and such a thing. But Megatron chose his true colours, that he wants to replace by force, and he will take the power for basically from other worlds and destroy everything in his way. Orion and says that Megatronius should become the next Prime by any means possible. Orion comes to the council and say, please do not judge him, please forgive him for what he says, and they will move by Orion. So they end up saying there's a young robot that has been more pure in the heart than anyone else. So they end up giving, Megatronius shortened his name to Megatron, and he ends up creating this big violent empire war, and he ends up calling his troops Decepticons, and Soundwave was his first loyal warrior to come, was his first warrior. So at the end of this, so they end up going, excuse me, they end up, and now at the meantime, while Ratchet's telling this story, the Autobots are just going through Unicron trying to destroy all his defences. And it's just mainly fighting down there, but the main actions are actually in the story. So Orion ends up trying to going deep within the planet's course, and he ends up trying to save the planet by risking his own self, when Primus actually says, you will no longer be Orion Pax, you deserve to be the next Prime, and he became Optimus Prime. And that leads to the very last thing. They end up coming to the spark of Unicron, and Prime says his most famous line, "Let's light our darkest hour," destroys Unicron's spark, ends up losing his. Megatron tries to kill Prime, but in the end he stops because Prime said to him, "Megatronius, where are we?" So Megatron ends up thinking of a quick plan and he ends up saying, "Who are these Autobots?" And Megatron says, "Quick, Orion, come with me, they're mortal animals, they're evil." So Prime goes towards the Nemesis. Everyone welcomes back Megatron. Breakdown nearly tries to kill Prime, but Megatron turns out to say, "Why should we our long lost car ride Orion Pax?" And Ratchet says to him, the Autobots go back to the Autobot space, and the Autobots explain to Ratchet to what happened to Optimus. And they said, Ratchet says, "Oh no, I know why Jack's been left the key. Because he knew that if he uses the Matrix, he might lose all memory." And there it is, the end of a long seeing my face doing Transformers Prime. I hope people liked it, and if it comes on again, I will definitely be returning for the next season to do Transformers Prime reviews for you. And Nosy, I've got something for you if you want it. If you want it, I'll show you on my next video. You said you wanted this item so badly in Auto Assembly. I checked if I still got mine, and I added 2 of them because I accidentally bought 2 ages ago. I found the other one, and if you want it, you can have it. I'll show you what it is next time. So this is rattrap25 signing out. Have a nice day. Take care.